Channel viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. In a few of my previous episodes, I have already started talking about how one can deduce a person's MBTI type by looking at the cognitive functions and deducing the cognitive stacks. So, I am going to start a series where I am going to share with my viewers how to interpret each of these different cognitive functions. Every one of us will have a different MBTI type, and our MBTI type is determined by our cognitive stacks. And this is my cognitive stacks. A cognitive stacks is made up of 4 cognitive functions. Depending on where your cognitive functions are positioned, the manifestation of that particular function may also differ. So I am going to also share with the viewers how each of these different functions may manifest themselves in real life, so you can actually observe and see, oh, so that is a TE. Oh, so that is an SE. So that is how it will work. To kickstart this series, we will first focus on how to distinguish between TE, extroverted thinking, and TI, introverted thinking. It may be quite easy for anyone to determine if he is a thinking type or a feeler type. However, if he is a thinking type, does he use TE or does he use TI? So in this episode, we will look at the differences between TE and TI and how they may be manifested in real life. One way to look at TE and TI is that TE is focused on possible explanations, while TI is usually focused on singular explanations. In other words, TE values width, while TI values depth. When approaching a problem, TE users tend to look at all the different possibilities, while TI users tend to only focus on one possibility and go deep into this possibility and totally might disregard all the other possibilities. Quite recently, these two women got famous because of one of their recent videos on how they believe that gays are actually influenced by Satan. Incidentally, these two very devoted Christians are TI users. TI users always zoom into one particular possibility and filters out all the rest, disregarding the possibility that gays can be explained from a biological perspective, an evolutionary perspective, an upbringing perspective. Their perspective is that the Bible is the only perspective. So if you have a TE user might explain that, okay, we can see that there are gay men around and gay women as well, and what are the possibilities or what are the possible explanations that might explain this phenomenon. So they might consider every one of this, and then from there they might think which is the one that might be the most credible explanation. So this is one of the major differences between a TE user and a TI user. TE goes width and TI goes in depth. So if you read a book by a TI user might write one entire book, 500 pages on the same explanation, but a TE user or a TE writer might write a book of 500 pages giving you all the different perspectives that are possible. However, that is not a bad thing. One example is Einstein, because he believed in relativity and he insisted that it is possible that the mystery of the universe can be solved from this theory. He continued to delve into it and finally he found the answer. Einstein, I'm looking for that Einstein. So a TE user might not be able to go to that kind of depth and may not have discovered this wonderful theory. However, as I see it, many TI users go in depth the wrong way. Hey, you know, the election is not fair. On our voting card there's a serial number. The government can trace to us, and then they will know that we are not supporting them. And when they know that we are not supporting them, they will not give us good things. They will not give us any help. And worse still, if you are a government servant, you will be sacked. So because they believe that this is true, they go on and on and on and develop this theory of them deeper and deeper and deeper. And then after that, they become more and more deeply in belief that their theory is true. You think the government so free, huh? So as you can already see, TI can also sometimes go very illogical. Why? Because another difference between TE and TI is that TE tends to be more objective, TI tends to be more subjective. Because TE tends to look at things from different angles, they also naturally become more objective. TI users tend to look at things from their own pair of eyes and interpret things from their own point of view. That is also why they tend to be more subjective. So much so that sometimes their logic can be self-serving. You can see a very good example. Donald Trump is always coming up with self-serving logic. And he is a TI user. Whatever you say tends to benefit yourself. That is a TI logic or a self-serving logic. While not all TI logic is self-serving logic, sometimes TI logic is just plain illogical from the TE point of view. So for example, in the army, you might have heard a lot of PTIs, sergeants or commanders just say, "My grandmother can run faster than this." Then ask your grandmother to run lah and show us. I need evidence.
Run.
So this is not the only time you can hear such TI logic. It definitely has to come from a TI user, because as a TE user, it just can't come out from my mouth. I can't say such things. Your mother can... My mother?
Can play better lah.
Then call your grandmother to play oh.
So you might also hear people say, "I have eaten more salt than you have eaten rice," as a reason to convince people that their logic is correct. So it's as good as saying, "Because I am older, I know more." This is not what a TE user might do. A TE user might just try to convince you using thought and arguments. So you can expect that a TE user will not use such words like, "You have to do so because I am your mother and I say so." And that is a purely TI logic. And this is possibly also one of the reasons why TI parents and TE children tend to have a lot of problems. Same for TE parents with TI children, because they cannot agree even at the logical level. The same goes for education. There might be TI users as teachers. So there might be teachers that say that, "Okay, because you gave me a lot of hardship, I'm going to give you some hardship back. In order to punish you, I will make you write 250 lines. I will always remember to bring my homework, write 250 times." The TE user may not use this method at all because it's a waste of time. What is the child going to benefit from writing 250 lines? However, from the TI user's point of view, this is a very good punishment. So this is also another reason why TE users and TI users at a very basic level are not very compatible. One is like a chicken, another one is like a duck, and they are communicating at different frequencies and using different language. How can you even win an argument when the person say, "Because I say so"? Since TI users tend to have this habit of zooming in and focus on one explanation and developing it, they can actually be very successful if they go the correct path. So earlier in our video, we mentioned the case of Jamie Wong and Joanna Ting. So this is just an example because it happens to be one of the topics that have been discussed during this time in Singapore. So this is an educational video. By no means is this video against Christian groups or the LGBT community. In fact, personally, I have seen a lot of Christians who have TE function, and they are also very rational and logical people. It just happens that these two individuals that I mentioned in the video are TI users. And the purpose of this video is to discuss the difference between TE and TI logic. So in the event that we have offended any people in this video, please accept our apologies. I hope that this episode has given you some idea how to distinguish between TE and TI while observing how people talk or how people think and how you yourself may think. Even though I am speaking from the point of view that TI may not be very logical, a point to note is all MBTI types have the potential to be successful. So I'll be producing a lot more MBTI episodes, and I'll try to make my MBTI episodes as practical as possible so you can use it for your everyday life. So if you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can add more value to you. Okay, I'll see you in my next episode then. Goodbye!